And then I'll open up to any questions from this morning, and then I'll let you get on with the drills. So hopefully you can all see that. React Router is a library which we are going to be pulling in for doing basically routing on the front end. So you're all pretty familiar with the idea of routing on the back end, right? I go to like /API /foo, and it shows me one piece of information, and I go to /API /bar, and it shows me a different information. Well, routing on the front end's kind of similar idea, except rather than just giving you different piece of information, it shows you a completely different thing. And you're all used to, if you go to gmail.com/inbox, it shows you your inbox, and if you go to gmail.com/spam, it shows you your spam folder or whatever. That's basically front-end routing in action. And so that's what React Router will let us do. So the way it works is you kind of say, okay, when I'm on this route, show this component or this set of components. When I'm on that route, show this component. When I'm on the other route, show the other component. So that's what we're going to be doing. To try this out, what I've got set up is kind of your classic, fairly boring homepage layout, albeit with no CSS applied at all. And this is split out across a load of different components, not all of which we actually want on the page at the same time, but they're all showing at once to start with, and we'll comment them out and work through them. So here's all my components, just to kind of run through them at a very high level with you. We've got our app component, which is the top level, and that renders everything else. So we've got a nav bar, which is this top bit. This is, the thing which sits along the top of your page, and, you'll click to the various different subparts. There's a homepage route, which, would be your landing page or whatever. At the moment, it just says, welcome to Foobar Industries. Then there's a page describing your projects, so the different things that Foobar Industries do. And that has like a navigation bar for getting between the different projects, and a projects page, which is like the kind of landing page for projects, which says please explore our projects. And then there's like a page for a specific project here, which says welcome to Project Foo or welcome to Project Bar or whatever it might be. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get these different routes showing up in different places. But before we do that, there's a little bit of setup work. You'll notice with almost all of these libraries that we bring in with React, there's always one or two little pieces of setup that we have to do. React Router is no different. And actually, it's pretty similar to what we do with React Redux, setting up the provider. Basically, React Router uses a similar system to pass information about the routes, down to the different components. So what we do is we wrap our top level route in a router component. So I will open up Index.js, and I'm going to import something called browser router from React Router DOM. There's different kind of subparts of React Router. So there's one for like mobile navigation. When you're working in native apps, there's one for like when you're working in memory. React Router DOM is when you're actually working in the DOM in a real web page. So we'll import this browser router, and then basically we wrap our top level component in that. And this will allow you to then use routes in your various different components to show or hide things based on how you want them to. What have I done here? Browser router. Oh, I just can't type. And if I give that a save, you'll see that nothing looks different, except there's now that browser router surrounding it. If you're using React Redux at the same time and you've got your provider, then it doesn't really matter which way around they can go. You can have either provider outside browser router, like that, or you can do that the other way around and have browser router outside of your provider. either way really doesn't make any difference. The two kind of don't interact with each other in any way, so set that up how you like. So there's our little bit of setup work. With that done, we can start looking at how we basically switch on and off certain things for certain pages. So you'll see at the moment, if we go to any of the pages, so /projects or /project/1, all of our different components show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into app.js. Basically, we'll walk through setting these up. And I've got the various different things which I want. So in theory, when I'm just on /, when I'm on the home page, I want to see the nav bar on the home page. When I'm on /projects, I want to see the nav bar, the project's navigation, and the projects page. And when I'm on a specific project, I want to see the nav bar, the project's nav, and the specific project which I'm looking at. So, first question for you. Now we've got the router set up. How do we make it so that a specific component shows in on a specific route? What piece of React Router DOM do we use for that? Yeah, that's right. It's the route component. So what I will do is I will import that route component from React Router DOM. And let me just comment these out for the moment so they're not getting in the way. And let's create our first route. So what props does route take? Path is a good one. That tells us, what path we're trying to match. So let's try first /, which we're trying to match to start with. Exact is interesting. We'll have a look what that does in a second, and we'll try to work out where and when we don't need it. Yeah, the component basically tells us what component we're trying to render. So when we're on /, we want to see the home page in theory. And if I save that, then you'll see if I go to my /route, then I see my home page showing up. This exact part's interesting. Basically, the exact part says either do I just want it to show up on this route, or do I want to show it on this route and any sub-routes? So you can see here, if I go to localhost 3000, it shows up. Whereas if I go to localhost 3000/foo or localhost 3000/foo/bar, any of those things, then it's not showing up. So it's not showing up on any kind of child routes of /. Whereas if I take that exact out, then you'll see that it still shows up on /foo/bar, and it still shows up on /foo, and it shows up on our /route. So that's what that exact does. So in terms of our homepage component, should we have that being exact or inexact based on this? Right, it wants to be exact because it shows up in our /route, but it doesn't show up in the child routes. Like homepage, we don't want it to show up under /projects, and we don't want it to show up under project/projects name. So we'll make that an exact route. Save that, and that looks good on /, and it looks good on /projects, which is basically what we want. The navbar is interesting here because the navbar shows up in all places. Basically, we want it everywhere. Doesn't matter what route we're on. Actually, we don't even need to use the route component for that. We can just say, okay, render the navbar, whatever. And if we do that, you'll see we get our navbar. And if we're on our home route, we see our home page. If we're in our project route, we don't see it. So that's looking pretty good. Now what I want to do is just keep working through the different components and sorting out the routes. So what's up next? Our projects nav component. So our path for that is /projects at least, as we want it showing up there, and the component is the projects nav. What about this? Do we want this to be exact or not exact? Right, this one wants to be non-exact because we want it showing up in /projects, but we also want it showing up in like any children of /projects, and presumably any children of those children. So we're kind of switching between the, so we can, always switch between different projects when we're looking at project A or project B or project C. So let's put that in, try it out. We go to projects and our projects nav shows up. We also go to project/1 and project/2 and it shows up. Looks pretty nice. Whereas on our homepage, it's not showing. So that's good. I'll take these out as we work through them. Projects page is next. So again, that's showing up on /projects. And if we have a look here, you'll see that projects page shows up on /projects, but doesn't show up on any children of it. So presumably that one wants to be exact. So if we go to the projects page, it shows up, please explore our projects. But if we go to one of the specific projects, it's gone away. So it's kind of just there as that landing homepage on projects. Seems pretty nice. What else have we got? The final route, I guess, is this variable route. So you can see if I go to projects, this is like /project/1, this is /project/2, and so on. And this basically works in the same way as Express. We can have variable routes. And the way we do that is we use the colon. So they don't have to be like complete matches. We can have, variable bits in there. So I can say, okay, let's have a route where we go to /project/some name. And in there, my component is going to be this project component. This could be exact or inexact. It's not really clear whether it should show up on any kind of sub pages of /project/whatever. And if I save that, then if we go to a specific project, it tells us welcome to the project. If we go to our kind of high level thing, it says please explore our projects. If we go to our homepage, it just says welcome, and we can switch over. So that's basically pretty much it for the kind of routing side of things. There's a couple of extra little bits which I want to look at in order to make this work a little bit more nicely. But is everyone happy with that point? Do you see how we've set up the different routes to show different things in different places? Give me a thumbs up if that all makes sense. Shout me a question if you got one. All right, great. So next thing I want to look at is a little bit subtle. It might be a bit difficult for you to see, but notice that if I click on one of the links, this happens pretty quickly, but this refresh changes to an X, and you'll see the whole page kind of goes white and then comes back in. This is basically indicative that I'm doing a complete round trip to the server and reloading the whole thing. And so it's going back to my development server and, pulling back all of my HTML and JavaScript and so on. But with React and React Router, we don't really need to be doing this, right? Because it's already loaded up all of the code which, works out what displays where. That's already there as part of my JS. So really, it'd be nicer if rather than doing that round trip to the server, it just, in JavaScript switched out and said, okay, we were displaying that, we'll remove that from the page and start displaying that. And so the way you get that to work is pretty simple. It basically involves you changing what your links look like. So I'll do this in my nav bar, I think. So you can see at the moment we switch using an anchor tag. And in order to make it like completely seamless, you should do this just for your internal links. What we do is we replace those with the link component. So I'm going to import that link component from React Router DOM. And then it's a really, really simple switch over. Basically, if you see A, you change it for link. And where you see href, we change that to say to, so it's a link to a certain page. I sort of think this is like easier to read and understand than href. It seems to make a lot more sense saying it's a link to something. But anyway, and if I do that, you'll see that now when I switch between my home page and my projects page, it's far quicker. It's basically instant. And you'll see that it doesn't refresh and I don't get that flash as it comes back in. So for all of your internal links, if you're using React Router, this is the style you want to use. So using links so it just switches out between the different pages rather than like in my projects where I haven't done that, actually going away and hitting the server. Saves you server resources, it's quicker for your user, so do it, it's nice. I've saved in the wrong place. The one last thing I quickly wanted to look at is, so in our app.js, you'll notice or you'll remember that we've got this variable route here. So this will match if we go to like /project/1, /project/2, and /project/foo, and /project/bar, and whatever. And quite often you need to access that variable bit of the route. So similar to what you do in React, where you want to say, okay, let's have a look at the request.params.name, for example. And, you will use that to go and access your database. Well, on the front end, it's a kind of similar idea that I might be going to visit the route, /users/245, where 245 is some user ID. And when I visit that route, I want to get the information about user 245. So I want to, make that part of my GET request. In fact, if we were using our example from this morning, if I visited like /user/Rails, then in theory I'd see information about the repositories held by the Rails project. So you quite often need access to this variable part just as a variable, so you can do whatever with it, make variable Ajax requests or make it display somewhere or whatever it might be. So just to show off how we do that quickly, in fact, I can look in my dev tools here. If I take a look at these project routes, it's not opening those out for me. I'll just jump through the series of things. But you'll see inside the route, the child that gets rendered gets a few extra variables, a few extra props from React Router. So it gets this history, which allows you to do navigation, gets you the location, which tells you about where you currently are. But it also gets this match. And this tells you various information about how exactly it matched up with the route. One of the bits of that is the params. So you can see here my name param is 2 because I'm at project/2. So if I was at project/foo, then I can probably filter here. Then I get my match having a param of name of foo. So basically that comes in as a prop and you can use it to do whatever you like. So here I can say props.match params.name. And then it'd say welcome to project foo if I'm on /foo, welcome to project bar if I'm on /bar, welcome to project 1 and project 2. So that's where that bit of information goes if you ever need to grab it. There's a few more bits to React Router, but that's sort of a quick intro. It's enough for you to be dangerous, I think, and enough for you to like start working through. So there's a couple of extra components which you might need to use this afternoon, but look them up in the documentation. That's the real core bits there for you. Have you got any questions about any of that? Give me a thumbs up if that all makes sense. Shout me a question if you got one. All right, great. So last thing I just want to do is to quickly open it up to any questions from this morning. Obviously, if you've got something very specific to what you're working on, then save that for a TA session. But if you've got something kind of more general that you want to ask, then now's a good time. So give me a raised hand if there's anything you want me to take a look at. All right. Well, I'm seeing no raised hands. So in that case, I think probably as much building time as you can have is the thing to do. I have replied to most of you getting back to you on the project ideas. Sorry, I haven't quite managed to get around to everyone yet. So if you haven't heard from me yet, then don't worry, it's nothing bad. It just means I've not got there. That'll be coming tomorrow morning and will be with you first thing, I promise. Everyone else, then have a quick read through, drop me a reply or ask me any questions you've got. But generally, I think we're getting there. So that's basically it from me. If you want to jump into your pairs, have a good afternoon, folks, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Hey, Chris. Hey, Jeff, anything I can help out with?
As of right now, we don't really have to worry about the history props, the props.history.
Yeah, that you can use it to do programmatic routing. There's a couple of different ways around that though, and I don't think that you need that this afternoon. As and when you get to that, which may well be in the next couple of weeks, we'll take a closer look.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks, yeah. See you later.